Okay, a little update on this Daisy 840 with this red dot sight. For anybody that's viewing this video, you can go into my videos and check out this Daisy 840 with the dot sight if you want more information on it. But this video is just going to be telling people what I found out about using two different pellets that are basically the same weight. One of them's high quality competition, which would be this one here. This is called RWS R10. These run about $15 for 500. They're 7 grain. And the RWS Basics, these run about, I'd say about $7 for 500. And they're also 7 grain. The difference between these two pellets and groupings in this smoothbore Daisy 840 is very minimal if you compare these two pellets. But you're saving a lot of money by buying the RWS Basics. Typically the Daisy 840, on your best pellets and your best setup, you're going to get about 3-inch groups, and that includes if it's scoped. You might get lucky sometimes, but the average 10-shot group is going to give you about 3 inches no matter what. So, do you have an edge with the competition pellets? Well, sure you do. If you shoot hundreds and hundreds of shots, you might get one group that's just a little bit better, because these are competition grade pellets and they're very, very picky on selecting these, so the weights are going to be about the same. Whereas this, the quality control is good, but it's not probably going to be as much. But what I found out is if I get a 3-inch group and say I get 3 1/4-inch group with these and a 3-inch group with these, that's not really much of a difference for me anyway, because this gun right here is pretty much made for shooting pop cans, and what you see here, this big circle, is a demonstration of what the red dot sight can do at 25 yards. So what you see from here to here is 3 inches. So if you place a pop can in there, it's pretty much pop can distance at 25 yards. The pellet velocity is about 275 feet per second, which is very low. This is a youth rifle, by the way. So I would recommend a dot sight for several reasons. Number one, if you hold the dot sight over this 2-inch target, the dot appears to be about 1 to 1.5 inches wide. Granted, it's wider than a scope crosshair. If you're careful, you can place that dot right inside here and get some reasonable accuracy out of it, and kind of like similar to what you would get with a scope. The other advantage of the red dot sight is you can zoom it in for you could set it for, say, like 3 yards if you want to shoot flies off the deck on watermelon or something, or food on the ground. This red dot sight's really good because the dot will appear to be a 1/4 inch at about 3 yards away, and that's exactly the size of a fly. So whenever you put that dot on the fly, if you've got it sighted in for that distance, you can snipe out flies with this little one pumper here. So this little thing is a lot of fun. The other advantage of having a dot sight like that is the fact that if you have kids, if you want to start them off with just looking at the dot and just say, well, just take the red or the green dot and put it over the can. It's a good lesson in shooting to get them started. And then when you think that they're doing good with the dot sight, then you can move them up to a duplex reticle. And then you can move them up to mil dot eventually. So you can kind of train them, at the bottom and then go to the top. But of course, you want to start with regular sights first, your iron sights, then dot sight, then duplex reticle, and then mil dot reticle. But if you're just out in the yard having fun, I think the dot sight will do just fine. And to give you an idea of how the dot size appears, the dot will appear about 1.5 inches at 25 yards. And if you cut that in half, 12 yards, the dot will appear to be, say, like 1 inch. And then if you go to, say, like 6 yards, the dot will appear to be about 1/2 inch, and so on and so on. So the closer you get, obviously, the smaller the dot. And the further you get away, obviously, bigger the dot. But after mid-range trajectory, there's a lot of drop in this pellet because of the fact that the rifle isn't really made for long range or anything. But it's kind of nice it gets out to 25 yards. So what's happening at 25 yards is this dot sight is almost maxed out to make it this distance. So this rifle is pretty much meant for a maximum range of 25 yards, which boosts it up to what it was originally designed for, which was about 10 to 15 yards. So you get a lot of gain, just by having a scope or a dot sight. Although you could use the rear sight here and raise it up, you just get a little more advantage having a dot sight or a scope on it for them longer ranges. And it's nice to see them cans fall over at 25 yards. Even though the pellet's going very, very slow, it's got that loopy trajectory when you sight it in for 25 yards. So it's kind of like an arc like this, like a big hill. So the pellet comes out of the barrel and it's got a real loopy trajectory, and then it hits at 25 yards. So it is possible to extend a low velocity pellet out to further ranges. So once again, if I was you, I would buy this Daisy 840 if you have kids or something, some youth thing going on. Get one of them, get a dot sight, and I would probably buy these wad cutter pellets here, these 7 grain, because you're going to spend a lot less money and you're still going to have good results. And it's a lightweight pellet, so like I said, it's only 275 feet per second to begin with. If you put heavier pellets in this rifle, or Crosman pellets, you're going to find that the accuracy is going to be really poor, since Crosman doesn't really have accurate pellets. There's some rare cases where Crosman pellets are accurate in some rifles, but if you do a 50-shot test, you might get 3 or 4 that work good, but then the other shots you're going to see, you're going to have a lot of flyers and stuff. If you want more consistency instead of Crosman, I would go with RWS pellets. Some of the RWS pellets are almost close to the same price. This for 500 actually is just a little bit cheaper than Crosman pellets, and they work better. So I would get these because they're probably German quality. So there's going to be some quality control going into that. So they're going to shoot probably a lot more accurate. And this dot, by the way, is 2 inches. So the group size is about 3. So you have to admit that even though it's a dot sight with a dot this big, placing it over the target, it did pretty well, being that it's not really meant for 25 yards to begin with. So, but hope you enjoyed the video, you guys. So the combo for all this stuff, I would say, if you say you bought this rifle here, the single pump for $40 and then $50 for that, and then a box of pellets, so you're looking at about $100 or something like that, and then some extra pellets. So that's a pretty cheap way to get some young shooters started. I actually like this rifle and bought it for myself because I think it's a lot of fun, and I like trying different cheap air rifles and seeing what they can do for accuracy and performance. And I was kind of impressed with this one because although it's a smooth bore, you're still reliable, as far as hitting pop cans and even a Dixie cup at this range, them little drinking cups. That group would cover it. So you could possibly even use them as targets too. But anyway, thank you very much for watching, you guys. If you want to find out more about the Daisy 840, I have a lot of videos on this rifle, and I'll continue to update and talk more about this and put it through the paces, with some other pellets and stuff. But for the most part, you want to keep the pellets light in this one. So you want to find them lightweight pellets because that single pump just isn't enough sometimes to push them heavy pellets. If you do push them, they're probably going to go 15 yards or 10 yards, and that's about it. So if you want to get out to 25 yards, keep it light, and I think you'll do just fine. Anyway, thanks for watching, you guys.